welcome to a bad Tiki Thursday. Evan and Tiki on the fan for the next 4.5 hours. A lot of baseball to get to, including reacting to the Met finale against the Washington Nationals. They're in the midst of playing. The Yankees going for the sweep against the Kansas City Royals. But something hit me last night that to me I think is very, very obvious. Late in the show, the glass broke, and it was reported that the New York Knicks reached out to the Atlanta Hawks about interviewing their current head coach, Quin Snyder. And then a few hours later, it came out, a report out of Chicago, that the Knicks reached out to the Chicago Bulls about interviewing Billy Donovan. And I started thinking to myself, this is all crap.
Wow, Tiki was right.
You are right. This is a smoke show. Like this, a smoke show? A smoke screen.
Wow, Ev, what's on your mind?
Where did she go?
Billy Donovan looks good in shorts. What can I tell you? But none of this feels real.
Now it doesn't.
Like, it doesn't feel right now. You want to tell me they reached out to the Houston Rockets? They absolutely probably did. Did they reach out to the Dallas Mavericks? They absolutely probably did. But now, something elaborate is going on.
Yeah, it feels like there are maybe two of those guys. You can't pick who they are. Maybe Jason Kidd is one of them, and maybe another one. Who knows? But it feels like a lot of this is just, we're going to make it look like we don't know what we're doing. We're just going to throw all of these requests out into the ether so that people say no and people think that we're idiotic, and it's going to distract away from what's actually going on.
And you know what the actual going on is?
No.
I think the actual going on is that they are targeting Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd was a guy that they wanted 5 years ago when Leon Rose first took the job, or at least I wouldn't say they wanted him, but he finished second. So they were considering him strongly along with Tom Thibodeau. And I think the Knicks, who remember got in a little bit of trouble, if you will, for Jalen Brunson tampering, I think what they're doing right now, this is my read on the situation, is they're going to continue to make these phone calls, these requests to interview active coaches, all to kind of distract from the real active coach that they're probably tampering with. They are probably talking to Jason Kidd's camp and kind of figuring out, do you want the job? Are you willing to really disrupt in Dallas to get this job? But does anyone really think they reached out to the Atlanta Hawks about Quin Snyder, who's done a crappy job in Atlanta?
No.
He did a good job in Utah. He was a good coach. But he's done a very mediocre job in Atlanta. Do we really think that happened with a serious intent?
It might get to them reaching out to all the teams, all 29 teams.
Why stop now?
Seriously, why? And if someone says, okay, sure, then maybe you have a conversation, but it still is nonsense. It still is just the smokescreen protecting you from what you're actually trying to do. Because if nobody's talking, or let's call it investigating, the interactions between the Knicks and, say, Jason Kidd's agent, then it's never going to come out. And it feels more like how the Knicks have operated these last couple of years. That is, everything that they want seen, we see. Anything they don't want seen, you don't hear a word about it.
And they know when they reach out to Chicago, and it's a formality, the Bulls are going to say no, that it'll immediately be leaked out. Because everyone's got loose lips. Oh, can you believe the Knicks requested an interview on Billy Donovan? Like, I'm almost expecting more. I'm expecting, and I'm going to get a big chuckle out of it. I can't wait for it. I'm expecting the Sean Marks request to interview Jordy. Like, when that comes out. And I think this is all being done on purpose. Like, I think there's a motive here. And I think the motive, this is my guess, reading the situation, is they would like to hire Jason Kidd. For a myriad of reasons. He has experience. He's coached the team to the NBA Finals. And probably more importantly, he has a really good relationship with the star of this team in Jalen Brunson. Are they going to end up with Jason Kidd? A lot of that has to do with Jason. Jason's got to disrupt. Jason's got to be a rubble rouser. Jason has to be the snake I know he can be. Now, will ultimately Jason Kidd do that? I think it's a 50-50 proposition. But here's what the Knicks also know. They know that they got the pick of the litter when it comes to who's available, because no one else is looking for a head coach.
That's true.
So as much as the perception is they're idiots, they don't know what they're doing, they have no plan, this is crazy, they also know they can move at whatever pace they want. They could throw out these smoke screens, and then there's going to be a bunch of guys available, and they can pick who they want.
That's what only thing I disagree with is that they can't move at whatever pace they want. I still think that there should be an urgency here. Not that they have to have a head coach by the time the draft comes around in 2 weeks, but You probably should, especially when you start considering the free agent market that's going to start heating up and talks are going to start happening. We already had the KD conversation yesterday and others over the last couple of weeks, including Giannis. So you need somebody who's going to give an opinion from a coach, put that in quotes, coaching standpoint, what you want the roster to look like. So there is a little bit of an urgency. It's not you need to do it tomorrow or by the weekend, but you got to have it done in the next couple of weeks, I would say so.
But this is the part where we could go back and forth on it. The Knicks and Leon Rose could look at their coach and say, you know what? We don't need your input on the players.
Yeah.
We're going to pick the coach that best suits the roster we built. So if we want to make a big deal, and I don't think they're going to make a big deal. I think they're going to make smaller moves to fortify the bench, the unsexy moves, if you will, picking up a guy like Dennis Schroeder, moves like that. I think they're going to pick the coach based on who they think maximizes the roster. And keep this in mind. Keep this in mind, because this is very, very important when it comes to their pick of the litter, because I used that phrase before.
Yeah.
I want to remind you that since 2020, there have been 9 coaches, and I'm not including this year. So let me just take OKC and Indiana and put them to the side, because they're active. They're still playing right now. Great series, by the way.
I know. Who the hell knew that?
So between 2020 and 2024, there have been 9 different coaches who have made the NBA Finals. Are you with me?
Yep.
4 of them are available. Literally half the list is available. Frank Vogel is available. And as much as someone wants to call in and say, Frank Vogel, well, listen, he's done something Tom Thibodeau never did. He's coached in an NBA Finals.
Right.
Mike Budenholzer won an NBA championship. You may not love him. He's available. He's a champion. He's sitting out there, and I can promise you this. If the Knicks offer the job to Mike Budenholzer, he's taking the job. Not done yet. Monty Williams, I know he sucked. He flamed out in Detroit, but Monty Williams coached the team to the NBA Finals. He's available. And then, of course, Michael Malone is available. So the Knicks already know that over the last half a decade, 4 of the coaches that led teams to the NBA Finals, 3 of them won them, are sitting there available. And that's not all. Mike Brown, say what you want about the guy. I know a few things about Mike Brown personally. Number one, he's like the nicest guy in the world. That's a side note. Who cares?
Yeah.
But literally.
But kind of different than the feels you were getting from Tom Thibodeau.
That's true.
Not that that's anything, but
very true.
It's just a kind of observed fact.
But you know what Mike Brown's done? He's coached the team in the NBA Finals. He's available. And again, I can promise you this. Knicks offer him the job. He's taking it. Your guy, Taylor Jenkins, not a bad first gig he had in Memphis.
No.
He's available.
All-time leading wins leader down there in Memphis. And he's only 39 years old.
And
so close in age to some of the players and relatable to what they probably are going to talk about and be about.
So think about these candidates we've already named. 4 of them have coached in the NBA Finals. 5 of them, actually, including Mike Brown. We mentioned Taylor Jenkins, who you just put over. And I'll throw another name at you that Ian Begley brought up the other day. And when he said it, I smiled because I know, this will get Knick fans pumped up. We all talk about former coaches. Bringing back Jeff Van Gundy. Here's a former coach to bring back. Your best coach this century, not named Tom Thibodeau, Mike Woodson. And Mike Woodson, who's on an NBA staff, who coached in college, who has a relationship with Leon Rose, he would run here for that job. So think about the guys you don't need permission to talk about that are all sitting there that would take this job. I'd argue, Teak, the field of available candidates is one of the great fields of available candidates you'll ever see.
No, I think you're right about that.
3 champions, 2 other guys that went to finals, and other accomplished coaches are sitting there unemployed?
Yeah, the challenge is going to be, because you mentioned something and you just said this, you're going to hire the coach to maximize the roster. So you're going to put the roster together or amend it a little bit, accent it a little bit, but then you're going to hire the coach that best fits that. It's a little bit, I don't want to say dangerous, but it feels like outside the best practices of NBA organizations, meaning the coach is the dispensable one, whereas the roster, the stars that you have accumulated are the ones that become most important. And I'm not saying that the player understands or even feels that in real time, but I think given this unique Knick situation, it kind of feels like the players have more power than the coach. And I don't know if that's a good thing.
I think that's every situation. I mean, what situation in basketball is that not the case?
I don't think Tyrese Halliburton has more power than Rick Carlisle.
No, it's Tiki. You actually hit on the team. You actually hit on the team. The Indiana Pacers, I think, are very unique and very different. And Rick Carlisle's 2 wins away from moving into that exclusive territory we talked about last week of being a guy who's won NBA titles with multiple different teams. So you're right. I think the Pacers may be an outlier. But when you look at the NBA, isn't that the case with most teams?
Are the Rockets that way? I don't think the Rockets are that way.
They're a young emerging team.
Yeah. So, but it just, I know that it exists because you have little LeBron Jameses of the world. You have the superstar players all around the league who clearly have more say with the owner or general manager than maybe the coach does. But just saying it that way feels so odd to me, to think that a player has more juice than the head coach does.
But it's not even that the players have more juice, which in general they do. It's more the way Leon Rose is going to build this team is the team's already built. This is our roster. And now we're going to decide. And again, they got the pick of the litter of accomplished NBA head coaches that we could have fair fights about on which one you prefer. But all of those guys I just mentioned are incredibly accomplished. And most of the guys I mentioned, again, these are the facts that are annoying sometimes, they've accomplished more than Tom Thibodeau.
Yeah.
When you get to the NBA Finals or you win an NBA championship like Mike Budenholzer did, you've accomplished more than Tom Thibodeau.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean he's a better X's and O's coach. Doesn't mean he's a better coach overall, but he's accomplished more. And so I think Leon's thinking is, here's my roster. This is the way I'm going to build this team. This is his team. His team. I'm going to pick the coach from this pick that best suits the roster I have. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I think that's why the Knicks could move at a slower pace.
Yeah,
they also don't have any competition because no one else is looking for a coach.
If you put it that way, you don't need an urgency. You don't need to work because look, you don't have a first round pick. So it's not like you have to worry about being ready 2 weeks from now. You do have to think about free agency, but I mean, who knows what that's going to bring? And I think the big names that you would want are going to cost so much, it's probably not going to be massive splashes, as you mentioned, in free agency. So if that's truly the case, and that is their plan, unseen to us, but just speculated by us right now, then there isn't an urgency to hire your head coach because you can do it at your own pace, your own decisions based on what you think is important, not necessarily what we as fans or media think is important.
And that's where I think everyone's missing the boat on this. I mean, I think last night should reassure Knicks fans. And you may say, what would reassure me? You know what should reassure you? Charles Barkley should reassure you.
Our opinion?
Whose opinion?
Having our opinion.
What do you mean?
Except for yours. The Knicks don't have a plan.
Yeah. It should reassure you that Charles Barkley is on the side of all these angry Knicks fans who say the Knicks are planless and they don't know what they're doing. I heard this last night. I laughed, and I said, wow, I know I'm on the right side of history. I know that Knicks fans are being overly emotional, and they're wrong to be mad at the franchise and call them a bunch of idiots that have no plan. And the reason I know this is because I heard Charles Barkley say this on TV last night.
The Knicks got to be the stupidest damn people in the world. Like, you don't fire no good coach like that and don't have a plan. I mean, Tibbs did a hell of a job. Obviously, something's going on there, but you don't have a plan. And now the 3 coaches turn you down. You got to have a plan, man. And they don't have a plan now. I mean, I don't know what the hell they're going to do.
When he said they don't have a plan for the 11th time in a short clip, that's when I knew, wow, they do have a plan. Because their plan is actually pretty simple. They realize, and we'll get into more details that have emerged in the last 24 hours, why Tom Thibodeau wasn't the guy. And their plan after that was, okay, we are going to look for a head coach. We are going to be the only team looking for a head coach. We have a bench of guys available unemployed, and I went through the names, Vogel, Budenholzer, Mike Malone, Mike Brown, Taylor Jenkins. That's damn good. And before we do that, we'll make a couple of phone calls on coaches that currently have jobs.
By the way, they didn't turn the Knicks down. The organizations turned the Knicks down.
Right. Nobody's turned the Knicks down yet.
We don't know if Jason Kidd or any of these other employed coaches are saying, I want nothing to do with the New York Knicks. It's their team saying, you guys have nothing to do with the New York Knicks. What
Charles Barkley said last night is the
stupidest damn people in the world.
He said the popular, easy LOL Knicks opinion. That's what he said. And he regurgitated it because he's heard everyone else say it. Yeah, they're stupid. They don't know what they're doing. Yeah. They are not stupid.
It also becomes memeable.
Very much so. They're not stupid, and they do know what they're doing. Now, do they know specifically who the next coach is? No. And honestly, I think a lot of times when a coach is fired, the organization doesn't know who the replacement's going to be. They probably have an idea of guys they'd like to talk to, but I don't think every job, as soon as someone is fired, they immediately know who that replacement is.
No biggie.
And right now, the Knicks are going through a process. Now, I don't believe they're interested in Billy Donovan. I don't believe they're interested in Quin Snyder. So in my estimation, here's the Knicks' plan. They want Jason Kidd. They're going to try to get Jason Kidd. They're going to throw people off the set by saying, look, we asked so many different teams if coaches were available. If they get Jason Kidd, he's your guy, and we could all argue about it. If they don't get Jason Kidd, they're going to move on to Vogel and Budenholzer and Malone and Brown and Jenkins. And even my guy, Johnny Bryant, will probably get an interview. If they're looking at experience as the number one factor, that is clearly going to hurt him. But they know they got their pick of the litter. And so I disagree with Chuck, and I disagree with 98% of the voices on this radio station that the Knicks are a circus, they don't know what they're doing, and they're in some awful spot. Because they do know what they're doing, and now they're going to let it come to them. And who do they end up with? We'll see.
Well, we'll reserve judgment on whether or not they know what they're doing when we see the success or failure of who they hire as head coach. That's what it's going to come down to. At the end of the day, it's all about, do you win? And we know that this team under Tibbs won a lot and got to the postseason a lot and got deep into the postseason. So whoever this new head coach in this process, it will be evaluated when the season starts and is finished.
One thing I think we should all come to agreement on is that Tom Thibodeau needed to go. And if you still disagree with us, when we come back, new details have emerged on some of the issues Knicks players had with Tom Thibodeau. We'll share it. We'll discuss. We'll get to your phone calls, 888-808-1019, the toll-free number. And Reggie Miller crossed a line last night. We'll get to it all.